So how I'm gonna start, you were given 4 colors, your white, red, green, and black. I'm gonna put 2 coats of white on the whole watermelon. I'm gonna put 2 coats, and I'm also gonna do my edges as best I can. There, I have my white is done. I'm gonna wash out my brush. And what I'm gonna do is I am just going to take some red and I am just going to make a nice little U line. So I'm gonna start right by the bite. And I'm just gonna make a nice little line and then fill it in with red. And what's gonna happen, the red and the white are gonna mix to make like a pink. I'm also going to do the edges where I have my watermelon. So I'm going to let that dry, and after it dries a little, we're going to put a second coat on the pink. I'm going to wash my brush again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that green and just along the edge, I'm going to make the very edge of my watermelon green. And now it's going to mix with our white and it should become a little lighter. And I'm going to go all along and I'll do my edges as well. Make sure you do those edges. And once again, I'm going to let this dry and then we'll come back and do a second coat. So while we're letting everything dry a little bit, I'm going to add just a tiny bit of white into my red just to lighten it up because we are going to add a second coat on the watermelon. And this time the paint is drier, so it's not going to mix that well. So I just want to lighten that red. So I'm just putting a second coat on. good to me. And now we'll work on our rind. So the rind is the green part. Typically there's like different shades of green. So what we're gonna go back and just make like lines. So I have my original green and I'm just going to make like little lines in my rind just to represent the different colors. We're almost like adding a little stripe to it. Alright, so I'm gonna let this all dry a little bit before we start putting the seeds on. I'm gonna let it dry and then we'll come back and put some seeds and put some light reflections in our seeds. So now that everything is dry for the most part, we're gonna add some seeds. Now the way I like to add seeds is using the back of the paintbrush. And I'm just going to dip in some black. And I'm just gonna make little lines. And it kind of naturally makes like a teardrop shape. So I'm gonna make a dot and then drag your paintbrush. Make them go in different ways. That's good for me. I don't want to go overboard. You could always even out the shape by just going over it again. Okay. And then I'm just going to go back and add a little more green to where I put those stripes, just almost giving it a second coat. And you could bring the stripe around the edge, but you don't have to. And the last little thing I'm going to do is I am just going to add a little white reflection in each seed. So I'm putting like a little white dot with the back of my paintbrush and a tiny bit of paint just in each seed, just to add a little. And you want to wait till your black is mostly dry. Alright, so there completes our little watermelon. Once it's dry, you could stand it up, you could put it on a shelf or on a table for a little summer decoration. Alright, I hope you had fun painting with me and happy summer.